Welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show, where wealth means a lot more than just building a second stream of income with real estate. Listen and learn how 90% of the millionaires in the world use real estate to create a life that most people only dream about. A life that includes good health, family, romance, travel, charity, and all the other parts of a balanced life. Now, here's your host, real estate investor and consultant, Steve Davis.
Good afternoon and welcome to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I am your host, Steve Davis, and as always, we're here talking about building a better life that includes family, romance, fitness, charity, spirituality, career, and wealth. And wealth and career are two different things. So many people try to make their career their wealth or generate wealth out of their career, and that's just a very, very difficult thing to do. You've got to make a tremendous amount of money to be able to do that. The people who are succeeding in America, and unfortunately it's only about 5% that retire successfully by age 65, all have second streams of income that generally meet and exceed their needs and wants. And that's what we talk about primarily on this show. How we're using single-family homes, apartment complexes, strip shopping centers, storage facilities, mobile home parks, cash-flowing, income-producing assets to build a second stream of income that gives us more time for family and romance and fitness and all the parts of a balanced life. And today I want to talk about something that I noted briefly on a previous show, and it's the fact that there's not a lot of information out there about the 401 trust. And what the 401 trust is, many of you did not know this. This will be the first time you've heard it. You can, even if you're still working, and I'll pick on Shell or Exxon or something like that. Say you have a 401k at Shell. Go try to get your money. You're not going to be able to. They're going to force you to invest it in what they choose, which will not be an investment. It will be speculation like the stock market or mutual funds and things like that. But if you go to them and say, look, I want my 401k, I want to go buy or invest in an apartment complex, they're going to tell you no. Well, guess what? The laws have changed. You can actually, there's a way, I'm not going to go into it, but there's a way that you can now get that money, take it out of the 401k. You don't really take it out. You transfer it to a 401 trust, a self-employed 401 trust. When you do that, that means you can now buy single family houses, you can wholesale deals, you can flip deals, you can invest in apartments or storage or mobile home parks or strip shopping centers. You can do anything you want with that money. The company loses control of you. It is an incredibly powerful tool for the average person to use to get out there and really start building wealth for themselves that produces cash flow for themselves. When you look at it from the flipper's point of view, it's amazing because flipping is earned income. 45% if you make $100,000 flipping, 40% of that is gone the minute you close those deals. To taxes, you have to pay both sides of the Social Security and Medicare. You have to pay the income tax. But if you did it inside that 401 trust, guess what? The tax is deferred. How many more deals could you do if you had all of your money? I hope it makes sense. It's kind of a complex thought, but I hope it makes sense when I say probably double. You would be able to build wealth twice as fast than you would have if you just went ahead and paid the taxes. So what I did was I Googled it, I Yahoo'd it, I went all over the place looking for that information. One website not website, but one search had one article on it and 167 million other articles on the 401k. Let me say that again so there's no mistaking the difference. One article on the 401 trust, 167 million articles on the 401k. Now, why the difference? The reason is simple. Stockbrokers, your corporation, don't want to lose control of your money. They don't want you to know this information. They want you stuck in that 401k where they control your money. They use it to do whatever the heck they want with it, and you can't use it. It sits there in garbage like the stock market or garbage mutual funds and literally ruins the majority of people's lives because they did that. So, and this is not I'm not a conspiracy theorist, or I'm not sitting here telling you everybody's sinister and evil. That's not the point. The point is that nobody gets paid on it. That's why nobody talks about it. The reason they talk about the 401k all the time is because they get paid to talk about it. They get a commission. So this is the way it is with almost any wealth building information. Sorry to tell you that. I mean, it's depressing when you say it out loud, but the information is just not out there. It's hidden. How to get yourself rich it's not a secret. I want to be careful using that word because it's in every library for free. The secrets to wealth are in every library. I've listed book after book after book for you that has the secret, quote unquote, secret in it. It's just that if you don't read, study, attend workshops, boot camps, join an investor club, you are never going to learn about money. It's just not taught. And I blame the Democrats because I doubt seriously the Republicans took it out. But they took out financial education from our high schools. Think about it. Did you learn the difference between income and expenses, assets and liabilities? They didn't even teach me how to balance a checkbook. Insane. We're in a capitalist society that doesn't teach capitalism. And does it get any better when you go to college? Unfortunately, no. They're not there. You know, I asked my counselor, I said, when are the classes on how to get rich? And he goes, there are none. That was my last day in college, by the way. Okay, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis, and we'll talk more after the break. If you've got a question for me, call me at 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening. Hi, this is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Catastrophes happen in the U.S. and around the world on a regular basis, causing tremendous financial difficulty for those unprepared. However, some people are prepared. These are the people with a second stream of income. This month, we are offering a free 2-hour workshop on how to use real estate to build a second stream of income for your family. For reservations, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you. Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. If you've got a question for me, you can call now. It's 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or email me at asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Let's go to League City now and talk to Rolf. Rolf, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
Doing awesome. Great class on Saturday.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Are you able to wholesale inside the 401? trust?
Yeah, you can wholesale, flip, invest in rentals. Yeah, you can self-direct it into anything that you want.
Okay, I wasn't too sure. I just wanted to clarify about the wholesaling part. So, thanks.
You betcha. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that you can do. You can invest in restaurants. You can do anything. I mean, once you get control of it, it's basically your money. Now, remember, the profit goes back to the 401k. So don't put all your money, 401 trust. Don't put all your money in the 401 trust. This is money that you're not going to need. If it's money that you need, go ahead and pay the taxes on it and use it. But if you can live off of one deal and you do two deals, take the money from one of the deals and put it in the 401, you're allowed to put up to, as an individual, it's like $66,000 a year you can deposit into your 401 trust. If you're married, it's like 132 or more. But think about that. Being able to protect from taxes $132,000 of any profit that you make from wholesaling or flipping. Pretty powerful tool. Very powerful tool. But again, it's up to you to learn this stuff. We teach it in our group, but other groups do too. Just make sure you're a member of an investor group. Don't sit on the sidelines going, oh, I'll figure this out over time. My financial planner will teach. Your financial planner is the problem. They're the ones that don't want to talk about it because they don't get a commission off of it. Your financial planner can't help you on this one. You're going to have to do the research yourself or join an investor club like I did and learn it for yourself. The next thing I want to share with you is I had an experience this weekend where a lady literally had an epiphany in the middle of my one-day class. And she was relatively excited, and I could tell from the front of the room. You know, she was fidgeting in her chair. And at the break, when we broke for lunch, I chatted with her, and she had finally had the epiphany, the sudden realization of the concept that she had been taught all the wrong things to do all her life. And so I want to review that concept. It's been a while since I did it, but it's based off of Stephen Covey's work, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where he talks about in life we have, I think this is the paradigm part, where he talks about paradigms, and we all have a vision of what life is supposed to be, what it should be. And the problem is sometimes life isn't what you think. In other words, you have the wrong paradigm. A paradigm could be the path to wealth is to get a job, work for 40 years, scrimp and save, put your money in an IRA and 401k. That should work because you've been told that over and over again. Yet what do we know? That doesn't work. 95% of Americans fail to retire by age 65 using that method. So how do we all get the wrong paradigm? What Covey talks about is pretend that there was you're in Chicago, say, or we'll say Houston for this example. You're in Houston, and through an error at the printing company, the map of Chicago is labeled Houston. You get that map, and you have in your hands the map of Chicago labeled as Houston. And then you decide you want to go somewhere. And you look at that map to prepare yourself for those travels. Think about this. If you take map reading courses, get a degree in map reading, get a PhD in map reading. You could work on your attitude. You could be highly motivated. You could even work long hours studying the map. Is that map ever going to get you where you want to be? No. It's the wrong map. It's not you. You're not the problem. You are working hard. You are smart. You are creative. You're able to do anything you set your mind to. But it doesn't matter. You have the wrong map. You have the wrong paradigm. You can't get to across Houston with a map of Chicago. Just like you can't get to wealth with a map that leads to poverty. And as disturbing as what I'm about to say is, it's true. Almost all of you have the map to poverty. You have the map that has failed 95% of the time. See, it's your job to look around you. Look at your family members. Look at friends. Look at coworkers. And what you're going to realize is that they're all broke. And who gave you the map? The people I just described. Your parents, your teachers, your professors, your coworkers, your bosses. They're the ones that gave you the map. But they're all broke. Does it not make sense that their map doesn't work? Why are you continuing to do it? It's not going to work. It didn't work for them. It's not going to work for you. You've got to get the right map. You have to have an effective map of Houston. Then, and only then, does your hard work, your dedication, your motivation, your intelligence, only then does that stuff matter. You can be, like I said, you could have a PhD in map reading. You could be the most motivated individual on earth. You could work 100 hours a week. But all you could possibly do is get to the wrong place faster, because as I said, the problem is not with you. The problem is with your map. You must have the right map. And the map to wealth does not include, well, it includes it, but there's much more to it than just having a job. If you just have a job, you are in the highest risk position. You say, well, I'm going to buy an apartment, that's risk. No, it's not. Not compared to just having a job. And if you're over 50 and you lose your job, you're pretty much spent. It's going to be very difficult for you to get hired. You're certainly not going to get the pay you were getting at your former company. It's going to destroy your life. And guess what? It's going to happen to you. You are going to get laid off, fired, downsized, or a pay cut. It's going to happen. You people 50 plus, you're the most vulnerable people in the United States. Because there's some young stud who wants your job, will do it just as good as you, and will take about a third of the pay. So what do you think the company's going to do? And then you get mad at the company. Duh. It is not their fault. That is what they're supposed to do. There's no loyalty. There's no responsibility to you. It's a job. Again, the highest risk position you can possibly be in, depending solely on a job for your income. But then a lot of you are going, but I don't know anything else. It's the only way I was ever taught to make money. Well, guess what? It's your job to go out and find new ways to make money. Joining my group, joining other groups that are focused on building wealth, whether it's real estate, restaurants, doesn't matter. But you've got to have that second stream of income. That's what separates the 5% from the 95%. And remember that map analogy from Stephen Covey. You were given the wrong map. You busted your butt. You worked hard. You are smart. But none of that matters because you got the wrong map. Get out there and get the right map. So, all right, we're about to go to break, so let me get this phone number out there. Phone lines are open at 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. Or you're welcome to email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. When we come back from the break, we'll talk about some of the basics of wholesaling, because I got 3 questions here about wholesaling, and I'll try to answer those 3 questions as well as a few others. Again, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. You can email me at AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. AskSteve@GetRealWealth.com. You're listening to AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening.
Real estate accounts for more millionaires in America than any other investment vehicle. This second stream of income can truly change your life. More time for travel and romance, more time for family and fitness, more time for whatever you want to do with your life. To find out how to build this second stream of income, attend our free 2-hour introductory workshop on real estate investing. To reserve a seat, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you.
Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. We are talking about wholesaling now and trying to get a grasp of the difference between wholesaling and flipping is kind of what the gist of these 3 emails is. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. There really is little to no difference. What it is the 3 of you need to understand that as a wholesaler, you need to have a buyer's list first. The first thing that any wholesaler should do is join 2 or 3 local real estate investor groups, us, meetups, other groups like us, so that you have a huge 30, 40 person database of buyers. You know, these guys that tell you to go find a deal and buyers are everywhere are incompetent. That is not the case. You find your buyers list first, then let them tell you what they're looking for. And then what do? You go out and find what they're looking for. It's that simple. So these 3 questions, how does flipping relate? Oh, you know, I think I understand why I got these. You're talking about the 401 trust. I see that at the end of one of them. Yeah, you can do both. You could throw the $66,000 a year into your 401k. I'm sorry, your 401 trust, or the 132 if you're married. You could also do that with flip fees. So I'm not sure how that works if you're using the money out of the 401 and then putting it right back in. I would assume there's no limit on that. Any profit you make with the money from your 401 would go back to the 401, and there wouldn't be any limit on that. But yeah, they're the same. And in case I'm not answering the correct question, let's go back to what I was answering before, and that is, when you're wholesaling, you should really be wholesaling to get enough money to flip. And when you're flipping, you should be getting enough money to buy rentals. In other words, you don't want to stay in wholesaling or flipping very long. Those are temporary earned income strategies, and they're not really investing either. They're earned income. So deciding whether a deal should be flipped or used as a rental really comes down to the amount of equity that's in them. and the price of the house. So I would suggest to you that the $150,000 to $220,000 ARV, after repaired value home, is your target rental. You're not going to flip those. But your $250,000 to $400,000 home, man, those things flip fast. I mean, it's really fast. So that would be your flip. That would be your first distinction to make. But what if there's only $20,000 equity after you add everything in? Then it's not a flip. I don't like to do flips that make less than $50,000. Are some of my students doing them less than that? Yes. But usually it's because it's their first deal or they're just trying to get one under their belt. But once you know what you're doing and you learn how to negotiate properly, it's really, if you're flipping a $300,000 house, I want you to make $50,000 or more. If you're flipping a $350,000 or $400,000 house, it should be more than $50,000 profit. Now remember, don't forget the commission. So when you're doing your evaluation, you add up purchase price, rehab, closing costs, 6 months of holding costs, minimum because of COVID, and the 6% commission to get it sold. After all those are added up, there should be $50,000 left over or more as a rule. And again, there are some people that make exceptions to that rule. But as a rule, it's $50,000 or more. On the rentals, I'm really doing deals. I think the lowest I ever did had 12% equity, and well, the best I ever did was 50% equity, but that was a ludicrous deal. Very rare. You're not going to find those very often. So, but 12% or more, and I'm buying that deal as a rental. Meaning, the $200,000 house, it's going to be, I'm going to buy that thing for $176 or below, and that $176 is the all-in cost. Holding costs, closing costs, rehab costs, and purchase price. Don't forget those closing costs. People always bring me deals to analyze, and they don't have the closing costs in there. And people generally always leave out at least 2 months of holding costs, which would be 2 mortgage payments. I'm not worried about the taxes and insurance unless it's the end of the year, and you might have to pay it. So I hope that answers your 3 questions. I'm trying to read the second one again to make sure I didn't miss anything. No, I think that's it. It all depends on that equity. Oh, he says, can you flip a $200,000 house? The answer is yes. But again, it's going to be dependent on how good a deal you get. The reason I don't like to flip those lower cost homes is because it's very hard to get $50,000 or more equity in there. Why do I like 50 or more? Because that way, if you goof something up and it's $10,000 or $15,000 extra to finish the rehab, you're still making $35,000 or $40,000. If you've only got $20,000 profit in the deal and you make a $15,000 mistake, then you're walking away with $5,000. That's not worth your time. So that's why I like the $50,000 and up. Okay, this guy has emailed me again. Why don't I like the $600,000 and up homes? It's generally because of the days on market. If you go and run your comparable sales, and then you run and find out how many days on market, those big houses, 600, $1 million, $2 million, they can sit on the market for up to a year. So you got to add a year's worth of holding costs. There's stress. It keeps you from doing other deals. Whereas those $250,000 to $400,000 homes, they're gone in a month and a half at the most. So getting your money moving quickly is important. So that price range, it's kind of the sweet spot for flips. Kind of like the $150,000 to $220,000 rental, that's the sweet spot for rentals. In my experience, the $250,000 to $400,000 home is the sweet spot for flips. Okay. All right. Phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or you're welcome to email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, next question. 30-year versus 40-year mortgage. Let me see what this says. Okay, well, that's all it says. Yeah, I always do 30-year because the goal is not to pay off your real estate. This is a middle class and poor belief. That would be dead equity. In other words, why do you care if you're making, 20% rate of return cash on your rent houses? Why would you care if you're paying 4% on your home? Your rent houses are paying for your home. Who cares if you pay 4% if you're making 20%? So never do we use 15-year mortgages. The only time we use 25-year mortgages is on portfolio loans where they force you to. They just won't go to the 30 years on some of those portfolio loans once you get past 10 houses. So I hope that helps. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Okay, pet deposit. Okay, here's a big mistake. Lucinda, it's not a pet deposit because you're not giving it back. It's a pet fee. So change that. Get that word out of your mouth. It is not a pet deposit. It is a pet fee. I charge $500 for dogs, each dog, $300 per cat, and an extra $25 a month per animal. Say, well, that's expensive. So is taking care of a house after, or doing a make ready on a house after dogs or cats have been in there. And cats are no angels. They spray, they spray the house and it stinks and it's hard to get out. So again, you got this, Lucinda, you got this guy with two big dogs. One, check with your insurance company, make sure that breed is covered by your insurance. If it's not, do not lease to these people. So it'd be $1,000 for them to move in and an extra $50 a month for those dogs. All right, this is the GetRealWealth.com radio show. We're coming up on the final segment of today's show, so if you've got a question for me, you need to call now. 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV. You're listening to AM 700, the voice of Texas. Thanks for listening.
Are you tired of losing money in every down market? Did you know that real estate makes money in both the up and down markets? In fact, we make more money in the down market. Hi, this is Steve Davis, host of the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Yes, we are praying for a down market, and you should know why. To find out why, attend our free 2-hour introductory workshop. To reserve a seat, visit GetRealWealth.com and click on the free workshop button at the top of the page. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thank you.
Welcome back to the GetRealWealth.com radio show. I'm your host, Steve Davis. Phone lines are open at 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. Let's go to the phone lines now. We're going to go to Magnolia and talk to Jim. Jim, thanks a lot for calling in. How are you today?
I'm good, Steve. Thank you.
How can I help?
I had my wife had got an inheritance, and to my surprise, she was thinking about doing investment property. And I don't know how much I would even rent the house out for that we bought. And
sure, that's easy. Let me answer that one before we move on. What you do is when you run your comparable sales to determine the investment value of the subject property, you'll also get a list of rents for that subject property and always go with the average for the neighborhood.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's not hard at all.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. And then my question, you hit me a little bit in that I don't want to have two mortgages. I'm not sure if I can't find a renter. I'm like, what do I do?
Yeah, you've got to, first off, Jim, you need to have the confidence that property in Texas, if it's priced right and you made your property perfect when you bought it, you're going to lease it in a week, 10 days at the most. If it doesn't lease within a week or 10 days, you've either got it overpriced or you didn't rehab it properly and it's kind of beat up still or something like that.
Oh, I got
So
you. Okay.
you'll have dual mortgages, but you'll end up with 20 or 30 mortgages. Who cares? Because those mortgages pay your home mortgage. I was doing the calculation here. Let's say you had a $500,000 house. And you refinanced it and pulled out $400,000. Then you invested that $400,000. You wouldn't do this, but single-family homes, and you made 20% rate of return. That's $80,000 a year. Your mortgage payment on your home after you did that, including PMI, would be $2,300 or $30,000 a year.
Oh, wow.
You're making an extra $50,000, and you now have 10 houses paying themselves off, building wealth, and so on.
Okay. I did think of one more question if you got just
Sure.
a second. So in my neighborhood, there's houses for sale, and it ranges from about $210,000 to $270,000, depending on the size.
Okay.
And they're pretty good shape. They're all about 4, 5 to 7 years old. Would you recommend doing it in your own neighborhood and a house that's a little bit more expensive but done? You don't need to fix it up, or you get a kind of a fixer-upper?
It's hard to get a good deal on a house that's perfect. That's the problem. Now, It does happen. So if you walked up to me and said, look, I can get this $250,000 house for $210,000 or $220,000, I'd say, shoot, yeah, that thing will probably still cash flow. But you would do a complete cash flow analysis to make sure that that $250,000 house produced positive cash flow.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. All right. I appreciate it.
All right, my pleasure. You have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Take care. Yeah, I'm not saying not to do the more expensive homes. You just have to be cautious. Here's where people make a mistake. They think that a $400,000 home rents for double that what a $200,000 home rents for. It doesn't. So you don't get a much higher rent when you get out of that 220. It starts to move very slowly up, but the prices double. So you have double insurance, double taxes, higher mortgage payment, and a rent that's only 50% higher. So you can see how that doesn't mix well. That sweet spot, the 150 to 220 ARV after repaired value, those things rent for $1,500 to really about $1,800, and they throw off about $350 to $400 a month positive cash flow off each house. So 20 houses, that's going to be $6,000 to $8,000 a month profit, and 20 houses take you about 10 hours a month to run. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738. That's 281-558-KSEV. Or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com. asksteve@getrealwealth.com. Where are we? Oh, let's see. Do I have an email? This is from Trey. Oh, this is just for an appointment. And we've got Lucinda has emailed back. Interesting. We are talking about wholesaling deals. Okay, I've confused some people. Understand that wholesaling and flipping are two different things, but they are taxed the same. Both of those things, whether you wholesale it or keep it, rehab it, and flip it, are taxed as earned income. So you owe both sides of the Social Security and Medicare, and you owe the income tax. So Social Security, I never could say that. Social Security is about 15%. Your taxes are going to be 25 to 35%. So 15 plus 25, that's 40. 15 plus 35 is 50. So 40 to 50% of your profit, if you don't throw it into a 401, is going to be taxed. So you got to be very cautious of that, Lucinda. Don't spend that money and get yourself in trouble with the IRS. And it does happen, because they're like, oh, the next deal I'll pay all the taxes. Put that money aside every time you do a deal, or put it in the 401 if you don't need the money. Okay, next we've got one of our members. It's a lady named Max. The wholesaling to a group of us, possibly this Friday. No, that has been moved. I apologize. Yeah, that's a mistake. Definitely not on a Friday. It's going to be, it was originally Saturday, July 11th. It's now a Wednesday evening, July 29th. July 29th, about 3 hours. And we will be sending out emails and with the dates and the times that you can reserve a seat for that. So sorry about the confusion, Max. But I don't think that I should never have said it would be on a Friday. So I apologize. It was going to be on a Saturday, but we're trying to keep it in the middle of the week to not take away people's Saturdays. And that'll be on a Wednesday at the end of July. Okay, let's go to next. Ask Steve a question. I would appreciate your, I just found out this morning. He's trying to do a cash out refinance. Closing cost around $15,000. Yeah, that's a ludicrous amount. You know, and I'm assuming, but I don't know how big the loan is, OT. I'm going to email you back. Tell me how much the loan is, but it's crazy to spend $15,000 of your equity to only get out $43,000. That is really a high amount of closing costs. That's like hard money or something. So I can't recommend this deal, but I will email you to find out how much the loan is and whether or not you should do it. It doesn't look like you should, to be honest, OT. That's just you need to what's the word for it? Shop a couple more banks, because this one certainly sounds like a ripoff. Cash out 30. Plus, I've got a couple of questions about the way your email is worded. I can't figure a couple of things out, but I'll email you, and you can clarify it for me. Okay, phone lines are open, 281-558-5738, 281-558-KSEV, or email me. It's asksteve@getrealwealth.com, asksteve@getrealwealth.com. So, okay. This is from, okay, it's a different tray. I see. Will I be covering the 401 trust in the free workshop Thursday night? Yes, I will. I only touch on it briefly, but I explain exactly how a single family house can make you a 300+% rate of return and you not owe any taxes on it. I'm also going to show you how to make $2 million off a small apartment complex and not owe any taxes on it. In other words, I hit about 3 or 4 different tax strategies in that free workshop coming up this Thursday evening. If you want to reserve a seat for that free workshop, it's only about an hour and a half long. Go to getrealwealth.com. Upper right-hand corner, it will say free workshop. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.
This has been the GetRealWealth.com radio show. Please remember that this show is for entertainment purposes only and should not be construed as legal, tax, or investing advice. Always get a professional opinion before making any investment decision. To find out about the mentoring and consulting at Real Wealth Academy, visit GetRealWealth.com and attend one of our free introductory workshops on real estate investing. That's GetRealWealth.com. Thanks for listening and have a great rest of your day.